Bhakti Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jayam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 8, the author receives the orders of Krishna and Guru. Text 21. Swatantra Ishvara Prem Niguda Bhandara Belaila Yare Tare Nankaila Vichara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, is fully independent. Therefore, although it's the most confidentially stored benediction, he can distribute love of Godhead to anyone and everyone without consideration. So he can distribute, and he is fully independent. He can do whatever he wants. This is the benefit of Lord Chaitanya's movement. If one somehow or other comes in contact with the Hare Krishna movement without consideration of his being a Shudra, Vaishya, Jagai, Madhai, or even lower, he becomes advanced in spiritual consciousness and immediately develops love of Godhead. We now have actual experience that throughout the entire world, this movement is making many such persons lovers of God simply by chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Actually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared as a spiritual master of the entire world. He does not discriminate between offenders and the innocent. Krishna Prema Pradayate. He liberally gives love of Godhead to anyone and everyone. This can be actually experienced as stated in the next verse. Adyapiha dekha chaitanya nama yailaya Krishna preme pulakashru vivalase haya. Whether he is offensive or inoffensive, anyone who will now chant Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda is immediately overwhelmed with ecstasy and tears fill his eyes. This is how powerful, and his mercy is how powerful Mahaprabhu's mercy is. The Prakrit Sahajas who chant Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam have very little knowledge of the Bhagavad conclusion. And they hardly follow the Vaishnava rules and regulations. And yet because they chant Bhaj Nitai Gaur, the chanting immediately evokes tears and other signs of ecstasy. Although they do not know the principles of Vaishnava philosophy and they're not very much advanced in education, by these symptoms they attract many men to become their followers. The ecstatic tears will of course help them in the long run, for as soon as they come in contact with the pure devotee, their lives will become successful. Even in the beginning, however, because they're chanting the holy names of Nitai Gaur, their swift advancement on the path of love of Godhead is very prominently visible. So even though they don't chant the mantra properly, but because they chant Nitai Gaur, name of Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, tears come out of their eyes. And other signs of ecstasy, Prabhupada says. Although they're Prakrit Sahajas, they're just sentimentalists. This is how powerful the names of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu is. And also, see, as we studied a little bit about glories of the holy name, so even if somebody chants the holy name in an while making a mockery of it, or while he may be meaning something else, but it's a holy name, so he gets a benefit, like Ajamil did. So just imagine how merciful Lord is. Just like when we say, na, some Angrej is going, we say, Are Gora ja raha hai. But it's the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gora. So he also gets benefit. Even if somebody says, for treatment, where are you going? I'm going to nursing home. Well, he means nursing, but it's the name of Lord Narsingadeva. It's Narsingadeva, it's also same thing, even if we saying in English, nursing home. This is the advantage of keeping names, or even chanting, or even saying names without even thinking about it. It's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name, Gaura. He gets benefit. Nityananda balite hai, Krishna premodaya, olaya sakala ganga, shru ganga vaya. Simply by talking of Nityananda Prabhu, one awakens one's love for Krishna. Thus all one's bodily limbs are agitated by ecstasy, and tears flow from one's eyes like the waters of the Ganges. Krishna naam kare aparadhira vichara, Krishna balile aparadhira nahaya vikara. There are offenses to be considered while chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Therefore, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, one does not become ecstatic. So it's very beneficial to chant the names of Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda before chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because by chanting these two holy names, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, one immediately becomes ecstatic. And if he then chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he becomes free of offenses. There are 10 offenses to avoid in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The first offense is to blaspheme great personalities who are engaged in distributing the holy name of the Lord. It's said in Shastra, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahitara Pravartan. One cannot distribute the holy names of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra unless he is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one should not criticize or blaspheme a devotee who is thus engaged. Shri Padma Purana states, Satam Ninda Namna Parmam Aparadham Vitanyute. Yata Khyatim Yatam Katham O Sahate Tad Vigarha. To blaspheme the great saintly persons who are engaged in preaching the glories of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the worst offense at the lotus feet of the holy name. One should not criticize a preacher of the glories of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If one does so, he is an offender. The Nam Prabhu, who is identical with Krishna, will never tolerate such blasphemous activities, even from one who passes as a great devotee. So very, very sincere or serious offenses blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives in propagating the holy names of the Lord. The second Namaparad is described as follows. Shivasya Shri Vishnuriyaya Guna Namadi Sakalam Dhiya Bhinnam Pashyet Sakhalu Hari Nama Hita Karkara. In this material world, the holy name of Vishnu is all auspicious. Vishnu's name, form, qualities, and pastimes are all transcendental, absolute knowledge. Therefore, if one tries to separate the absolute personality of Godhead from his holy name or his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, thinking them to be material, that is offensive. Similarly, to think that the names of demigods, such as Lord Shiva, are as good as the name of Lord Vishnu, or in other words, to think that Lord Shiva and other demigods are other forms of God and are therefore equal to Vishnu, is also blasphemous. This is second offense at the lotus feet of the holy name of the Lord. So Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, to think Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the names of Lord Vishnu. It's a second offense. One should avoid that. The third offense at the lotus feet of the holy name, which is called Guru Avagya, is to consider the spiritual master to be material and therefore to envy his exalted position. The fourth offense is to blaspheme Vedic literature, such as the four Vedas and Puranas. Fifth offense is to consider the glories of the holy names to be exaggerations, thinking, it cannot be possible just by chanting. Just like when Haridas Thakur, who is Namacharya himself, He was describing the glories of the holy name, and this man got up and he said, "You're saying just by chanting the holy names, even at the stage of Nam Abhas, not even full chanting it purely, one can get liberation? This is nonsense." Hardas Thakur said, "This is what the scriptures tell us. There's no exaggeration here." Similarly, the sixth offense is to consider the holy name of the Lord to be imaginary. Hari Namani Kalpanam. So it's not imagination. All the glories are there. The seventh offense is described as follows: Namno Valad Yasya hi Papa Buddhir. Na Vidyate Tasya Yamer Ishuddhi. To think that since the Hare Krishna Mahamantra can counteract all sinful reactions, one may therefore go on with the sinful activities and at the same time chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to neutralize them is the greatest offense at the lotus feet of Harinam. So yes, Harinam can do much more than just uh, neutralize our sinful reactions. But we don't chant and commit sinful activities thinking I'm chanting, I'll be safe. No, that then it becomes an offense. Sin is one thing, pap, aparad is another thing. So Harinam can save us from pap, which we have which might have committed inadvertently, unthinking. But aparad is something that is different. Jagai Madhai, they were very sinful, but they did not commit an offense. And that was a key thing that they got the mercy of Nityanand Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the eighth offense is stated thus: Dharma Vrata Tyaga Huta Adi Sarva Shubha Kriya Samyam Api Pramada. It is offensive to consider the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra to be a religious, ritualistic ceremony. Performing religious ceremonies, following vows, and practicing renunciation and sacrifice are all materialistic, auspicious activities. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra must not be compared to such materialistic religiosity. This is an offense at the lotus feet of the holy name of the Lord. So it's not some ritual, material, mundane, ritualistic ceremony. No. This is pure bhakti. No, cannot even compare to the religious ceremony. The ninth offense is described as follows: Ashuddha dhane vimukhe api ashanvati yash cha upadesha shiva nama parada. It is an offense to preach the glories of the holy name among persons who have no intelligence or no faith in the subject matter. Such people should be given the chance to hear the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, but in the beginning, they should not be instructed about the glories or the spiritual significance of the holy name. By constant hearing of the holy name, their hearts will be purified, and then they will be able to understand the transcendental position of the holy name. So in the beginning, we don't tell all the glories and all the effects of chanting of the holy name. We all say basically to attract somebody to, no, just chant, it will give you peace of mind and this and that. But once the faith is developed, then we can tell, or he can himself read. The 10th offense is as follows: Shruti api nam mahatmya ya priti rahito nara aham mamadi paramo namni sopi aparadakrit. If one has heard the glories of the transcendental holy name of the Lord, but nevertheless continues in a materialistic concept of life, thinking I am this body and everything belonging to this body is mine, aham mameti, and does not show respect and love for the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that is an offense. And actually, um, all these offenses happen because of the 11th offense, which is not mentioned here, and that is because inattentive chanting. So when we performing inattentive chanting, then all these 10 offenses happen sooner or later. Especially this 10th offense, materialistic concept of life. It takes time for this to go away, that I am this body and everything belonging to this body is mine. Mine in the sense for me to enjoy. We are not this body at all to begin with, but to speak of enjoying this body or byproducts of this body. Not going to happen. Tadashma tad ashma sharam hridayam batedam yad griha maner harinama dheya na vikriyetatha yada vikaro netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsha. If one's heart does not change, tears do not flow from his eyes, his body does not shiver, and his bodily hairs do not stand on end as he chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it should be understood that his heart is as hard as iron. This is due to his offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord's holy name. Wow. Pashana Hirday, actually, it's called Pashana. Hard, very hard. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur commented on this verse, which is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, remarks that sometimes a Mahabhagavat, a very advanced devotee, does not manifest such transcendental symptoms as tears in the eyes, whereas sometimes a Kanishtadhikari, a neophyte devotee, displays them artificially. This does not mean, however, that the neophyte is more advanced than the Mahabhagavat devotee. The test of the real change of heart that takes place when one chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is that one becomes detached from material enjoyment. Bhakti parishanubhav viraktiranyatracha. This is the real change. If one is actually advancing in spiritual life, he must become very much detached from material enjoyment. So sometimes devotees are worried, am I making progress? What is happening? I'm chanting and I'm initiated also for so many years. Well, this is the sign of progress, if we are getting detached. Not that we have to show it to anybody to prove it. See, I'm so detached. No, it just in the heart, we have to feel it. If it is sometimes found that a Kanishtadhikari shows artificial tears in his eyes while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, but is still completely attached to material things, his heart has not really changed. The change must be manifested in terms of one's real activities, how much we are attached and how much we are detached. And material enjoyment means everything, gross and subtle. Gross in terms of property and this, and then subtle in terms of attachment to power, position, and honor. Those things are subtle. And sometimes we do get attached to those. And then because Krishna wants to make sure that the devotee makes progress. So if we are not getting detached, then he makes us detached, or he takes away those things. And then it is really painful, very, very painful, because we are attached and Krishna just snatches them away. This is just to make us more detached and more attached to him, so we can make progress. But it is painful. It's just like if a surgeon is performing surgery, to remove maybe a cancerous growth or growth of cells, or maybe whatever. Just imagine if it does without giving any anesthesia. It would be really, really painful. But surgeon is not our enemy. He is removing it so we can live healthy life. But obviously at that time, and even when we are recovering, it's very, very painful. But the goal is we lead a healthy life. So similarly, Krishna, he knows what's the best healthy life for us. And if we are attached to anything, any sort of sense enjoyment, could be subtle or could be gross. And if he sees we are sincere and he takes it away, he does the surgery. Oh boy, that could be painful. But this is where the association of devotees really help. Sadhus, they're very compassionate. And they really help in getting over that pain and still engaging us in the devotional service. That's why devotees association is very, very important, very important. एक कृष्ण नामे करे सर्व पाप नाश प्रेमेर कारण भक्ति करे न प्रकाश. Simply chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without offenses vanquishes all sinful activities. Not just vanquishes sinful activities, even the desire to commit sinful activities, that's also gone. Thus pure devotional service, which is the cause of love of Godhead, becomes manifest. One cannot be situated in devotional service of the Lord unless one is free from sinful life. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. So we can think that I'm not free of sinful life, so still I'm doing devotion. So, well, this is Vedi sadhana bhakti. We are struggling to perform. But the devotion service here, it's pure devotion service. So this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Yesham tu antgatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvando moh nirmukta bhajante mam duradvarta. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the duality of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. A person who is already cleansed of all tinges of sinful life engages without deviation or duality of purpose in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In this age, although people are greatly sinful, simply chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra can relieve them from the reactions of their sins. Ek Krishna Name. Only by chanting Krishna's name is this possible. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Kirtana Dev Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also taught this. While passing on the road, he used to chant, and this is what he chanted in South India. Krishna, 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 Krishna. This is nice bhajan, well, simple bhajan. So you can read that. If one always chants the holy name of Krishna, gradually one is freed from all reactions of sinful life, provided he chants offenselessly and does not commit more sinful activities on the strength of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. In this way, one is purified and his devotional service causes the arousal of his dormant love of God. If one simply chants the Hare Krishna mantra and does not commit sinful activities and offenses, one's life is purified, and thus one comes to the fifth stage of perfection or engagement in the loving service of the Lord. Prema Pumartham. So this thing we have to be very careful of, that not to commit sin or not to commit offenses, while chanting the holy names of the Lord. And then definitely love of God will develop in our heart, which we are lacking. Okay, I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhupada.